When I interviewed Kevin Sullivan, sadly the late Kevin Sullivan, who I talked to quite a few times, he always said that Hulk Hogan's contracts with WCW wasn't with WCW, it was with Turner, but he had a special contract called a personal services contract. What does that entail, and why is it different to other contracts?
I don't know how accurate that is. It may be accurate. To be very honest with you, I don't recall that Hogan's contract, in terms of the way it was structured between performing services as a talent and personal services. I That does not sound familiar to me. And again, I want to be respectful of Kevin because he was a good friend and a good man, and he never would intentionally, you know, deceive anybody when it comes to things like this. He was a professional wrestler, so he got paid to deceive. But when it comes to this type of thing, Kevin had a lot of integrity. I don't really know if that's true or not, or it could be Kevin's interpretation of something that he heard about Hulk Hogan's contract, because Kevin wasn't involved in that process, and Hulk wasn't very forthcoming when it came to details of his contract. He kept things professional and private. So I don't know how accurate that is. That's the best way I can respond to it.
How integral were you to actually structuring his original contract with WCW and then like the 1998 revised version of the contract, where I think he ended up making nearly $7 million a year, and that's in '98 money as well.
Mm, I was involved a lot in the very beginning, and once we arrived at 1994, Hulk Hogan's first contract, the renewals were really minor adjustments. Now, sometimes those minor adjustments, you know, ended up with Hulk Hogan making a lot more money, but the basic elements of the contract remain the same. Sometimes the percentages of revenue that he would share in, those may have changed during the renewal process, but the basic outline of the agreement was essentially the same as the one he had in 1994.
I always love his. I'll move on in a second, but I always love his contract, where it's $20,000 a month to wear the NWO shirt, and then 20% of the gate, or a certain percentage of the gate or the pay-per-view revenue over a certain threshold or whatever. Then at the bottom, it's $175 per diem for sandwiches or something like that.
Yeah, it's interesting because Hulk really got paid. He got paid essentially a flat fee. Like his first contract, he committed to 4 pay-per-views a year. And each pay-per-view, he would also do, I think it was 4 television appearances leading up to because you got to tell the story on television. You got to spend a month promoting it, right? So each one of those pay-per-views, 4 of them a year, also included, I think it was 4 TV dates to promote it. And he was paid $500,000 per pay-per-view. Now, one of the other incentives that we built into the contract was we took the average of WCW pay-per-views over the course of 2 years, right? So let's say over the course of 2 years, each WCW pay-per-view generated, just for round numbers, $1 million in revenue. Hulk Hogan got paid $500,000, and if the pay-per-view did more than $2 million, in other words, there's a massive increase because of his participation, he also received an additional bonus. It was an incentive program. And what's interesting is everybody likes to talk about how much money I paid Hulk Hogan, and he got $7 or $8 million for doing this or doing that. What people don't realize is WCW's revenues escalated dramatically because of Hulk Hogan.
He was underpaid at one point.
Huh?
He was underpaid at one point in '97, '98. Yeah.
You could argue that. Because of Hulk's influence and the positive contributions he made as a character, part of the NWO story, obviously, the fact that we paid him according to our success and bonused him according to his success shouldn't be that bizarre or that complicated of a formula for people to understand. But people just want to focus on the money. Oh, Hulk Hogan wasn't worth it. He didn't really, they should have paid Sting more money, whatever. It's silly, uneducated horse shit, but it's out there. Thanks to guys like Dave Meltzer.
He was worth every single penny. When Nitro came out, he was wrestling every single week as well. And
because by that time he started enjoying it.
Yeah.
Right. He didn't care about the dates in his contract. He never even, I don't think he even paid attention to it, to be honest, because Nitro was getting, he was having so much fun with the NWO story and the reaction that he was getting from the crowd. If you go back and watch WCW prior to the NWO and Hulk Hogan's turn, go back and watch Hulk Hogan, say late 1994, early 1995, and don't pay attention to anything at all that you see other than the crowd reaction. He was losing it. He was losing the audience. He wasn't, not that he still had the audience behind him, but not to the same intense degree, right? And Hulk started feeling that. He was very much aware of it. And I think he was feeling a little bad about it, which is why when the NWO opportunity came along and he saw, man, if I turn heel, this is a great story. Kevin Nash, Scott Hall. If I'm the third guy, I might be able to get that crowd back. And that's exactly what happened. If you compare the reaction to Hulk Hogan late 94, early 1995 to the reaction to Hulk Hogan in 96, 97, 98, it's a completely different story. And it was a good move for him. And it was obviously a good move for WCW.